Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc, and Sergio Perez battled for the win in Azerbaijan, refusing to give up until the McLaren driver emerged triumphant. But just before the end of the race, the biggest crash of the race happened, leaving some drivers absolutely furious. Although Leclerc had the best of the early running, the pit stop swung the balance in Piastri's favour, and he quickly closed up on the back of the Ferrari to grab the lead. Then he defended like crazy to win the race, which ended behind the VSC due to Perez and Carlos Sainz's late accident. And we'll be focusing on that crash because both drivers left the track absolutely furious at each other and with their third call from the stewards in their back pocket. As the race entered its last 4 laps, Leclerc's rear tyres eventually failed, forcing him into an increasingly frantic defence of second place against Sergio Perez's Red Bull, with Carlos Sainz's Ferrari also joining the battle. Perez was feeling especially at ease in the upgraded Red Bull this weekend, on a circuit where he typically shines due to the need for an understeer balance in the car, and he sat comfortably inside a 2-second gap of the Piastri-Leclerc duel for the whole of the second stint. When Leclerc's tyres eventually failed, Perez went into attack gear and attempted to get around the outside of the Ferrari on the penultimate lap into turn 1. Leclerc's defending slowed Perez's departure, allowing Sainz to charge and pass the Red Bull for third on the run to turn 2. The two then clashed on the run to turn 3 as Perez attempted to get back underneath the Ferrari. It wasn't quite apparent who was to fault, but Perez was upset with Sainz, and the accident sent both cars into the barrier on the inside of the circuit, forcing the race to be completed under virtual safety car. Behind Leclerc's gripless Ferrari, George Russell's Mercedes took the final podium slot. He ran at the back of the lead group early in the race after being overtaken by Max Verstappen's Red Bull on the first lap, but the Mercedes came alive on the hard tyre and was able to repass Verstappen's Red Bull and comfortably hold off a late charge from Lando Norris's second McLaren. Despite starting well down the grid due to the yellow flag calamity in Q1 on Saturday, Norris recovered superbly to finish 4th from 15th. He used the alternate strategy of starting on the hard tyre and finishing on the medium, and he also assisted Piastri during the pit stop phase by delaying Perez's Red Bull to ensure Piastri was not undercut in the pits. Ironic given McLaren's new team order policy, which would normally favour Norris from now on. Perez, who had been struggling with form recently, was back to his best on the streets of Baku and had ridden Leclerc's duel with race winner Oscar Piastri over the second part of the Grand Prix. Thus, he jumped out of his car in disbelief and absolutely furious. Sainz was more measured, wondering what happened as the two climbed out of their destroyed cars, with a virtual safety car deployed for the remainder of the race. And unfortunately for both drivers, there could be more behind this, as the shocking late race accident involving Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz is being scrutinised by FIA stewards in Azerbaijan. Sergio Perez of Red Bull and Ferrari's Carlos Sainz clashed on the last lap of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, as the two battled for podium positions with Ferrari's Charles Leclerc. Perez and Sainz were about to start a drag race down the long straight to turn 3 when they made contact, with Perez's right front wheel softly brushing the left rear corner of Sainz's Ferrari. The contact resulted in the pair spearing off heavily into the concrete walls, with a furious Perez taking to the team radio to exclaim, "What the F did he do, man? Is he crazy or what? Effing idiot." Sainz was confused by the accident, saying, "What happened there? What happened? I'm okay, but I don't get it." And after the race, the drivers still weren't on one line regarding the accident. "A big crash. Unfortunately, I hit straight into the concrete wall. I'm happy that we're both okay. Honestly, I was going really fast behind Charles and Checo. I had saved tyres as well, and I knew I could overtake them quite well. I overtook Checo when he was fighting with Charles, and then I think we came out of turn 2 close together. I just did my normal racing line. I didn't do any strange manoeuvres or anything. And for some reason I still don't understand. We collided, but yeah, I think he had a lot of space on the left. I didn't make any weird moves, but I guess that's racing. Sometimes you do 48 laps without incident, and then with 2 or 3 laps to go, things like this happen, Sainz said. I follow my normal race line, and the line that we all follow on every lap of this circuit. At the start of turn 2, we always go a little to the left, but without making any strange or erratic maneuvers. Charles in front of me also goes to the left. I obviously follow his slipstream and I don't know. Checo, I think, decides not to give up any space, but it's too early to say. As for Red Bull, team boss Christian Horner said the following. It was unfortunate for Checo Perez, because he drove brilliantly. He lost a lot of time with Lando Norris, who was holding him back, so I think he could have won the race. He was able to attack Charles Leclerc. He caught him. And that accident happened with Carlos Sainz, explained the Red Bull boss. I saw the replay, and if you look at the wall, which is the reference on the right, Carlos moves towards Checo, and that ends his race. It is very expensive for us for Checo, for the expenses in the damage to the car, and for the Constructors' Championship. The two drivers have now been summoned to the stewards to explain their perspective on the accident. This is the third time the two drivers have had to go to the stewards together, following 2 separate blocking incidents on Friday and Saturday. The collision marked a dismal conclusion to Perez's comeback race, in which he seemed ready for his first podium result since the Chinese Grand Prix after leading the Red Bull push all weekend. Separately, many virtual safety car infringements will be examined. Max Verstappen is one of the drivers on the list, and McLaren will be investigated for a pit lane infringement, the specifics of which remain unclear. In addition to the Sainz-Perez incident, the stewards will look at Verstappen's alleged virtual safety car infraction. A 5-second penalty would keep him in 5th. A 10-second penalty would send him to 6th place. With Norris 4th and Verstappen 5th, the McLaren driver closed the deficit marginally. Still, Verstappen leads the standings by 59 points. Meanwhile, Piastri has put a significant space between himself and Sainz, who has received 0 points as a result of the Perez crash. But Verstappen, Sainz, and Perez aren't the only ones who have to visit the stewards, as the McLaren team also has something to explain. McLaren faces an investigation for an alleged pit lane infringement following the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Following the Grand Prix, Race Control swiftly announced McLaren would be investigated for a pit lane infringement. A stewards document confirmed an alleged breach of Article 34.13 of the FIA Formula 1 sporting regulations, team personnel and equipment in pit lane during the race. Article 34.13 states that team personnel are only allowed in the pit lane immediately before they are required to work on a car and must withdraw as soon as the work is complete. All team personnel carrying out any work on a car in the pit lane, when the car is in its pit stop position during the qualifying session, the sprint shootout, the sprint session or during a race pit stop, must be wearing helmets which meet or exceed the requirements of ECE 22.05, European Motorcycle Road Helmet, USA Motorcycle Road Helmet, or JIST, 8133, 2015, Class 2, JPN protective helmets for automobile users. The use of appropriate eye protection is compulsory. It's unlikely this will result in a time penalty for any of the drivers, but a team reprimand and money penalty will almost certainly occur. What are your thoughts on the late crash? Is Perez or Sainz really to blame? Or were they both just driving their line, colliding unluckily in the end of it? Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments down below. In the end, Oscar Piastri of McLaren won his second career Formula 1 race in Azerbaijan, overtaking and then holding off pole sitter Charles Leclerc, going to 222 points against Leclerc's 235. Piastri and his teammate Norris's result, combined with Perez crashing out, also mean that McLaren take the lead in the Constructors' Championship for the first time this season, with 476 points against Red Bull's 456. Mercedes' George Russell finished the podium following the spectacular late race accident between Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz. One of the most unexpected things was Norris's recovery after the miserable Saturday he had. Norris started 15th on hard tyres and was able to fend off Verstappen for 4th place, who was still struggling with rear end bouncing. After finally pitting on lap 38, Norris overcame a 15-second deficit to leapfrog Verstappen for 4th. Remember, Verstappen started 6th, ending 5th, and Norris started 15th, ending 4th. Verstappen has some serious problems if he still wants to win the championship. Surely we will see some more fireworks on the track next week, and in the remaining 6 races after that. The title race is still fully open, and with Leclerc and Piastri also being only 19 and 32 points behind Norris, everything is still possible. What do you think? Will Verstappen be able to hold on to the lead? Or will Norris come out victorious? Or perhaps even more shocking, Leclerc or Piastri, who both have shown big improvements in recent weeks? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe for daily Formula One news.